Hello ladies, welcome back. I have had several requests to show how I make the beaded wrap bracelets, and even though I do sell these on my Facebook page, I don't mind sharing because if you're a crafty person, I think you should make them for yourself, and if you're not, you should buy them from me. It's really a pretty simple process, and I'm going to just get right into the tutorial first. And then at the end of the video, I'll share kind of tips and tricks. So that way, if you're just interested in seeing how it's done, you can see that. And if you want more information, just catch it at the end of the video. There's a couple I've made. The one I'm going to make today is going to be kind of rockabilly inspired. I found these little skull buttons and I just thought they were so cute. So this is a soft suede cord, and just going to feed it through my button. And this is probably about 30 inches beading cord. And how I judge for a 3 wrap is I just pull it out the length of my arms once, twice, and just about 3 times, and that usually makes the perfect average size length. I'm just going to tie this just kind of as a placeholder for now onto my suede. It doesn't have to be tight or anything because we are removing this. We'll fix and remove this later. Pull all of that down and make a knot. Kind of be neat with your knot because obviously it's going to be visible, and you want to make sure that this threading has gone through your knot just to make sure to secure it, and then we also reinforce it later. So there's our knot. Now I'm just going to put the button under my clip. Figure out how this lays best, and I'm going to keep it flat all the way down to the end of my board. And what I have found is when you're doing this, we're going to tape this in. When you're pulling this down to tape it, you don't want it to be really super tight, or you do get puckering in your beads. So just a nice taut tape job. I don't know how else to say it. I have a regular sewing needle here. I'm going to thread that. You just need to make sure that your eye is going to be small enough to fit your beads. Okay, so when I tied this, it's already coming up through the middle, so that's fine for me to get started. If yours is coming out this side, you'll just want to move it so that it's coming in through the middle. Try to start with maybe a thinner one. You get less puckering at the first loop. This one will be okay. But there always is still a little bit of puckering right there, just from the knotting and the way the suede lays. So I've just thread on my first bead. I'm going to go under the right cord and through the bead and pull. Now, I've watched tutorials where people do double the cord, and I can tell you that gives just a huge headache because you have a whole lot of knotting going on. And this beading thread is so strong that I personally don't think it's necessary to have it doubled over. So I just went under my left one, through the bead, under the right one, and through the bead. And then I always just, if I hold this thread, it kind of holds the bead in place. It helps just a little bit. And then, I know it's so hard to see that, but I just kind of give a tug and pull through. Under the left, through the middle, and throw a bead on the floor. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my bracelet. I usually like to make it just a little bit longer with the beads. However, sometimes it works out to where you don't measure enough, and so this is what you get. I'm usually pretty anal about just making sure I have more than enough. But so I don't know what I was up to this morning, but there it is. It's only about a ½ inch short. So I just make a little tie off, and then I'm going to undo this end and wrap my thread around. Then I'm going to make a knot, and you have to make sure your thread also goes through the knot. Finesse this into the best looking little knot I can possibly get. It measures 21 inches right to here, and so that is the size that I generally make. I will do special lengths if people ask me. It just, it just depends. But a size 7 is kind of the standard size wrist. It's nice when you have the extra tassels like this, because then whoever does get the bracelet can adjust this farther knot to make it more tighter or looser. I'm going to put a couple of little knots in the tail ends just decoratively. What I do here is I take my super glue, and I'm going to figure out kind of where the thread comes out from the knot, and I'm just going to do a little dab. And you want to kind of try to keep this inside of the knot, because otherwise the super glue can feel scratchy if it's on an area that's going to rub on your wrist. And then when the super glue dries, I just trim off the little tails. And that's basically the gist. I think this one turned out kind of cute if you're into that kind of rockabilly thing. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry and then I'll trim it. Okay, now a couple of the other things I just wanted to tell you guys about is when you are getting ready to do this kind of stuff, of course you need to have buttons that have big enough holes to run your cording through. You can use any kind of cording you want. You can use round leather, you can use soft suede, firm suede. This one is fishtail cording. Let me take this one off. This is the very first one I ever made. And I've really become a lot better at making them, but I still wear this one even though. Here's the puckering I was talking about. If you pull your bracelet too tight, you get a lot of that puckering. And it doesn't look bad when it's on your wrist, but it's noticeable when you're just kind of looking at it like this. Also, if you don't have your thread long enough to do your entire bracelet, you're going to have little tie-off areas like this. So I never have that, because those are pokey too. On the bracelets I sell, they are always long enough to do the bracelet. When you're buying beads, you want, well, I figure this out as I go along. Some beads will be all really nice and uniform, like these ones. And then some beads, I know, for instance, these red ones, you'll have some that are big like this, and some that are really skinny. So usually when I buy beads that are like that, I don't repurchase that kind because it makes making the bracelets take even longer. You want to make sure that they're fairly uniform. A couple of big ones here and there is okay, but if you have a really big one and then a really skinny one, you're just going to see a lot of thread, and that does not make for as pretty of a bracelet as if they're kind of uniform. Possibilities are just so limitless for these bracelets. I love them. This is one that I just recently made, and this one's not very neat. This was my first one of this style. I have great, I'm going to redo this one, and I'm going to do a tutorial on this one. I know how to work it now, so that was a lot of fun. I have, anyway, I could probably talk about bracelets all day. I've used elastic, kind of stretchy cord. Anything that you find that you want to try to make a bracelet out of, try it. There's no rules to me in crafting. I say that all the time. You're kind of the designer. You do and create what you think, you know, works best. So anyway, if you haven't checked out my Facebook page, do. I kind of do updates there. And I'm going to be sharing some more new styles of bracelets that I'll be making as well. And I hope this inspired you to get crafty. And if you're not a crafty person, then you kind of know what goes into me making these, and maybe can appreciate it a little bit more. So I'm wishing everybody a lovely Saturday. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your weekend.